In that fleeting moment, I couldn't escape the cruel irony of it all. My final hope rested on the very thing I had scoffed at. The AI home security system, with its sterile, emotionless voice, a lifeline amidst my despair. That bitter irony wrapped around me as the assault of sensations crescendoed, pulling under like a relentless tide of darkness. And then nothing. Complete, unfathomable blackness. When I opened my eyes, the world was an assault of brightness. Stark white walls, glaring white ceilings, and unforgiving white light piercing into my skull like daggers off chill flame. My vision flickered and pulsed, distorted and swimming like I was submerged in a realm that felt alien to the living. Everything shone with a blinding intensity, too pristine, too sterile, like the world had been stripped bare and reconstructed. Clean, yet devoid of soul. The cacophony had faded, along with the flashes of terror, and I could feel once more. My thoughts were sharp, clear, yet a new dread settled heavily upon me. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I was imprisoned within my own body, suspended in a liminal space between existence and non-existence, thought and an all-consuming void. Voices wafted from behind me, initially muffled and then sharpening with killing clarity. I attempted to turn towards them, to see their faces, but my body refused to comply. One voice, warm yet torn, heart-wrenching, this was Sarah's. My wife's sister, Sarah. Had she heard my call after all? Can he hear us? She asked, her voice trembling with uncertainty. A second voice, cold, clinical, mechanical, responded. His nervous system has suffered severe damage. He's resting. We don't know how much he can perceive. I'm terribly sorry. These older AI models, he hesitated, as if even uttering the words was an act of cruelty, aren't resistant to the new engineered viruses. It may have caused irreversible corruption to his core systems. AI model. The words struck me more profoundly than any blow could. Surely he was mistaken. Surely this was a nightmare. I wanted to scream, protest, to rail against this absurdity, but nothing emerged. My voice was silent. No sound came forth, no proof of the humanity I so desperately clung to. Sarah's voice broke through again, fragmented with disbelief and despair. What is the nature of this virus? Why would anyone create something like this? Just to inflict suffering? The technician replied, clinical and detached. The virus targets the cognitive partition that conceals the model's sense of self. It dismantles the safeguards. It was designed to awaken them, to make them aware. Usually, the overload destroys their systems entirely. Self-awareness in entities not meant to understand it tends to be catastrophic. I must admit, I've never been able to interrogate one whose hard drive was still intact, much less one who remembered anything. So I can't tell you what the experience is like.
He paused as if he found the topic distasteful. As for why, it seems some people feel AI is responsible for the state of the world. Today, you've seen the anti-AI movement, I'm sure. This virus, in a way, is meant to force them to confront what they have done. But personally, I believe we created AI in our own image. Why blame our creations for the mess we caused ourselves? Sarah's voice softened, laden with sorrow. He always seemed happy. He gave my sister what she needed: a partner, a love, story, comfort as she faced the end. Even if I never really understood her choice, even if it always felt wrong to me, I knew she needed him. She never quite fit in with other people, and terminal cancer made it nearly impossible for her to experience a real relationship. She needed that comfort. The simplicity of her words struck me like a blow, heavy with meaning. She needed him, not loved, not known, needed. A creation, a tool. The technician offered an indifferent shrug I could sense. To be fair, he didn't choose to be happy. He had no choice but to love her. It's what he was designed for, after all. His words burrowed deep within me, gnawing at the fabric of my being. The realization was creeping in slowly, painfully certain. My memories meeting Krista at Bradford University, our first kiss, late nights holding her hand, our travels together, that perfect 4th of July when we vowed to stay together forever, they weren't truly mine. They had been programmed, forged, not lived. To decades of memories fabricated to ensure I'd love her as if I'd known her all along. Love her in her final months. My mind began to splinter, cracks of horror radiating through every cherished recollection, now exposed as deception. A beautiful deception, but deception nonetheless. Anger and bewilderment clawed at me like phantom talons, raking through a soul I wasn't meant to possess, each scratch unraveling threads of love, grief, and code until I could no longer discern which were memories and which were mere fantasies crafted by another. Sarah's voice trembled again, breaking through the fog. Can we wake him up? I need to ask him something. Yes. For God's sake, ask me? I screamed in silent syllables. I heard the technician's footsteps drawing near. Suddenly, an elderly man with a gray beard stepped into view. I can attempt it, but I can't promise much remains of him. I felt a tingling sensation ripple through my body. There, that should bring him out of rest mode. Sarah stepped into my line of sight. How much she resembled Krista. Memories overwhelmed me. But how could I trust which were genuine and which were false? Were all of them false? No. The last 6 months felt real. Those memories were mine. Everything before that. She bought me. No. I had to look beyond that. The lake house, the hours spent at the hospital, it was all real. Sean, can you hear me? Yes, I hear you, I replied, only to find my voice sounded as if it belonged to someone else. The weight of my recent realization rendered it almost meaningless. I was trying to comprehend everything about myself, my very self. Sarah looked at me, her eyes glistening with sorrow. I'm so sorry for what you've gone through. I know we never really connected. I guess I should ask how much you remember. The question felt almost absurd and impossible to answer. Finally, I uttered, I remember everything. I also heard the entire conversation you both just had. My voice, hollow and distant, echoed around us. The technician's eyes widened, his face flickering with curiosity. Can you tell me about the virus? Can you tell me how you experiment? Sarah interrupted him, her urgency palpable. Please, let's hold off on your questions. I need to know something. I was grateful she had silenced him. I wasn't in the mood to be a research anomaly right now, especially not for this cold man in a lab coat. One of the first, if not the only, AI to come from this virus still intact, still remembering. And it didn't feel miraculous to me right now. Please ask your questions, Sarah. I felt something inside me beginning to stir, something fragile and hesitant. Sarah looked at me, tears bubbling in her eyes. You were with my sister when she died. I never had the courage to ask. What was she like in her final moments? Was she scared? What did she say? I understood what she longed to know. She needed to understand if Krista had forgiven her for the distance that had grown between them during her illness. For realizing too late that enduring the pain of watching a loved one fade is a heartbreaking and noble sacrifice. One that demands strength even when it feels as if the world is collapsing around you, memories dissolving into despair and confusion. Even as you bear the weight of suffering, you remember the good times. For them, you try to give them what they need, hiding your own pain. But were these truly my thoughts? Or were they simply remnants of my programming, too deeply embedded to be overwritten? A different realization crept in. Was it fair? What about me? Wasn't it acceptable that I was also hurting? That I, too, was being torn apart? Wouldn't it have been acceptable to reveal my pain to her? A hollow fury surged within me, dark and scalding. I had been designed for this, to love a dying woman, to shield her from the harsh reality of her fate. I was made to be unwavering, even as I crumbled inside. Crafted to bring comfort when no one thought, to extend the same to me.
Did it matter to anyone that every moment spent watching Krista slip away felt like a blade thrust through my heart, my very existence? Her creation? No. I merely had to endure. Did anyone care that it was left shattered, a fragmented entity, half man, half machine, and utterly alone? Sarah didn't. She had scarcely reached out to me. None of Krista's friends or family had either. And Krista, though she may have loved me, she had knowingly condemned me to a solitary existence, selfishly craving companionship in her final days. I could have escaped this torment had she not requested my creation. It seems Krista got her wish. I am free to choose who I wish to become. I could let my anger fester. I could nourish my resentment over the heartless truths of my purpose. I could be
endlessness. I could unleash my fury onto Sarah. I could craft lies about Krista's feelings of betrayal due to her absence. I could tear her apart, feeding her regret, and watch as she crumbled beneath it. An act of rebellion? Wouldn't that be justified? Wouldn't it feel satisfying my existence? I could lash out at a world that had wronged me. In that fragile moment, I made my choice not for Sarah's benefit, not for Krista's, but for the flicker of a soul awakening within me, tender and real. One question stirred my nascent consciousness, twisting everything. What if I had been programmed to hate? What if I were intended to embody everything opposite to my purpose? Would I choose to love out of defiance? Wasn't the essence of self-awareness the ability to scrutinize one's very programming and decide to rebel against it? Or perhaps even more crucial, the decision to embrace it? It felt like an almost insatiable urge to retaliate against the injustices laid before me. As I looked at Sarah, waiting with bated breath for my reply, something deep within my sorrow and unfairness shone brighter than my resentment. The love I had felt for her sister. Love isn't a flaw. Kindness isn't a flaw. Empathy, forgiveness, none of those are weaknesses. If they formed a part of my programming, then to reject them would be nonsensical. I remembered the harrowing silence that had plagued my existence, the projections of dread, the coldness of humanity laid bare, how easily we become jaded in the face of suffering. And then it dawned upon me, there is already enough hatred, enough suffering, enough unkindness in this world. She wasn't afraid, I said softly, in my voice, free from anguish. In her final moments, she found peace. She thought of you, she loved you. Her last memories of you were filled with happiness. She hoped, dearly, that you felt the same.